What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2. It's Lex, and this is In Between the Pages. So let's dive in. So in this episode, we'll be talking about a lot of different things, such as audience. We'll talk about your theme of your book. We'll talk about the different book genres that your book can fall into, and we'll also talk about how to create your story's description. So, when thinking about the audience that your book is for, especially when writing children's books, you have to think about how it not only fits for the child that may be reading the book, but also for the parent. They're the adults, they're the ones that have money. You want the parent to feel like this is something that is beneficial for their child's development. Um, different learning skills that the book may have, and different tools that the child can use while reading it. And I try to not just have a book that's fun for the youth to read, but also something that is educational and entertaining at the same time. So especially with children's books, you have to think about how broad your audience may actually have to be. Yes, it is technically for youth, younger ages, but also you want the parent who is actually purchasing the book to feel like this is something that is beneficial for their child as well. So also note that when writing a children's book, I have two children's books myself. So In Mother's Shoes is a completely smaller audience than my second book, The Little Cameraman. In Mother's Shoes runs between about 1 years old, as in you can read the book to them, to I would say about 8 years old, that they can read it on their own. Generally, I don't really think a 9-year-old or 10-year-old would be interested in Mother's Shoes now. There are some special cases where they may be, but I didn't really write it for anyone older than about 7, 8 years old. So it starts off really basic as far as sight words for, first and second graders. So I try to use some of the things that are actually used in education in the books as well. That way they kind of correlate. Not necessarily wanting the books to be on school lists, which would be great, obviously, but um, you want to correlate with something that is actually happening in the child's life that they can relate to. Oh, we learned this word today in school. Now it's in the book that I'm reading. The Little Cameraman and its audience. It is typically a longer book, running about 25 to 30 pages, while In Mother's Shoes and the character JoJo is running about somewhere between 15 to 20 pages. So as you can see, just right there, that separates your audience as well, because now you get into a child's attention span and how long that can last with actually reading a book or even having a book read to them. Um, the Little Cameraman's audience runs, as far as age wise, runs between, I would say, about 5 years old to someone who may be about 11. So, The Little Cameraman is really a book that allows students to find their niche and what they like to enjoy reading. It deals with a lot of topics such as bullying, which is unfortunately something that kids sometimes deal with while they're in school. It shows them how to handle bullying, shows them photography, how to integrate yourself into your community and help your community. It gives them a little bit more information of the world of the character. So this is why it's geared toward a older audience that can actually understand what is actually happening in the book. It teaches them things, it shows them things, it explains things to them, versus um, my first book, that is In Mother's Shoes. It kind of gives a base underline of what it means to be a part of different professions, but it doesn't dive into the actual lifestyle of each profession itself. So that's really the difference in how you build your audience, and also it allows you, the older the audience, it allows you to give more detail. So one thing about the theme of your book, to me, I like to think of it as like a running gesture or suggestion that happens on every page. It is something that you talk about or is shown visibly, shown throughout the wording, or spoken on every page of the book that kind of flows throughout the story. It is like your main talking point, your main topic of what the actual book is about. So when I think about the theme of The Little Cameraman, which is my second book, it is about photography, but it also dives into how photography can be used in a positive and negative way. So that's the theme of it. It deals with bullying, it deals with helping your community, but the main subject is photography. It's called The Little Cameraman. When thinking about my first book, um, In Mother's Shoes, the main theme of the book is, shoes, different sneakers, but also what can those shoes and sneakers and high heels do for you? So that's the theme. It talks about every shoe imaginable, but also it has a form of imagination with the shoes as well. So your title talks about your theme. Each page can talk about your theme. The words on the page, obviously, you want to be related to your themes. A picture, you want to be related to your theme as well. And this is how also relates to your audience and what they're interested in as well. Because I write children's books, I do mainly write fictional stories. These are short stories that are loosely based off my own personal experiences, but they're not the full factual event that has happened. Um, these are an imaginary portion or imaginary tale of the factual event. So it still falls under fiction. That's typically what I write. So when out in the world and bookstores and you see these different genres, it's really important to figure out where you fit in. Are you telling an actual, you know, someone's life story, a fact, or something that is 100% true? Or are you telling something that is imaginary, made up, something that is created um, from something, from your mind, or from an event that's happened? So being decisive and understanding where you fit is really important. And that's how the best way for you to find the genre that you fit into. So finally, we get to story description. Before you begin writing your book, this is the time for you to write a one paragraph summary of what you want your book to be about. And now I know this tends to come at the end for some people, but I like to write it in the beginning because I want it to be a promise to myself that if I write, this is my story, and I can fit it into one paragraph. While I'm writing the actual story and going through the actual pages and creating my character, all of those things that I'm writing feed back into and match the description that I've said I wanted the book to be about. Um, this is a snapshot of your actual book. This is something that you will need when publishing your book. You will need a description, and it'll have to only be one paragraph. This is something that you'll have to be able to say almost like an elevator pitch when someone has asked you about, well, what is your book about? Be able to spit off those few words, that line, that really resonates with the whole story that you have. But it has to be short, it has to be condensed for people to really understand and get it quickly. A lot of times, be flexible along the way to know that things will change. Once you get to writing process, there is so much that's going to change along the way that you've already done ahead of time that you may have to go back and tweak, which is fine. Things come up, things change, be flexible to do so. But also, if you have an idea that you're stuck with, that you just have to get out, write it down, make it plain enough so when you begin to write your book and you finish that last word and you say the end, those two still match at the end. If you have reached this point of the video and you have not subscribed, please think about doing so. There will be more videos coming out and I want you to be the first one to know. So that way you get a notification when I drop each and every video along the way on the series. So I'd really appreciate it. It'll help me out and help the channel as well. So.